The sun burned white over Ouagadougou as her plane touched down. Claire Dubois stepped onto the tarmac, her designer sunglasses glinting, a woven basket of donated school supplies balanced in one arm. The cameras loved her immediately, her French accent polished, her smile effortless. "I'm here for the women," she told state TV, clasping the hands of a local translator. Education, health, dignity. Behind her, a tall, silent man in a pressed khaki shirt carried her luggage. He never spoke to reporters, and no one asked his name. By week's end, Claire was everywhere. She handed out solar lamps in villages, posed with giggling schoolgirls, and even shared a staged laugh with President Ibrahim Traoré at a charity gala. "Africa's future is bright," she declared, her voice dripping with sincerity. But in the back of a rusted taxi, her smile vanished. She pulled out a second phone, encrypted, and typed a message. The reply came instantly. "Proceed. Avoid military zones until clearance." She slipped the phone into her hidden pocket, just as the car passed a Burkina Faso army checkpoint. Her eyes lingered a second too long on the soldiers' rifles. The translator beside her frowned. "You interested in security work, madam?" Claire laughed, too bright. "Oh no, just admiring how professional they look." That night in a locked hotel room, she unfolded a map. Red circles marked villages near drone bases. Blue dots traced patrol routes. A sticky note read, "Schools, ideal camera placements." She didn't notice the tiny green light blinking on her laptop, a signal she was no longer the only one watching. Claire's mornings always began the same way. Sunlight streaming through her hotel curtains, a cup of French pressed coffee in hand, and a carefully curated social media post. "Another beautiful day serving Burkina Faso's resilient women," she captioned, a photo of herself surrounded by village children. The likes poured in within minutes. But her evenings belonged to someone else entirely. At 9 p.m. sharp, her media officer, the tall man who never spoke, knocked twice on her door. They worked in silence. He handed her a slim tablet. She scanned satellite images, zooming in on airstrips and supply routes near the northern border. "They're moving SAM systems here," she muttered, circling a blurry structure on the screen. "Need closer visuals." The man nodded. "The school visit is tomorrow. The headmistress has already approved your educational survey." Claire's lips curved. Perfect. The next day she wore a vibrant Pagani dress, blending seamlessly with the locals. The village headman greeted her warmly. "The children are excited for your books, madam." "The pleasure is mine," Claire beamed. But as the kids sang welcome songs, her fingers discreetly tapped her phone, snapping photos of the horizon, where military trucks rumbled past distant hills. A little girl tugged on her sleeve. "Madam, why do you always look at the sky?" Claire's breath hitched. I love clouds," she stammered. "See that one? It looks like a lion." The child giggled, but an old woman in the crowd narrowed her eyes. That night, Claire uploaded the photos to a secure server labeled Phase Orange. Meanwhile, a Burkina Faso intelligence officer compared Claire's cloud selfies with yesterday's drone footage in a dimly lit Ouagadougou basement. "Same coordinates," he muttered. "She's marking targets." President Traoré, reviewing the report, set it down slowly. "Let her keep taking pictures," he said. "We'll develop the last one for her." Claire didn't make mistakes. At least that's what her training had taught her. But Burkina Faso's dry heat and the constant pressure of maintaining her cover were wearing her down. It started with something small, a slip of the tongue. At a donor luncheon, a German journalist asked about her NGO's operations in neighboring Niger. "Oh, we don't have teams there yet," Claire said smoothly. "Our focus is strictly Burkina Faso." But the journalist frowned. "That's odd. Your website lists 3 clinics in Niamey." A beat of silence. Claire's fingers tightened around her wineglass. "Ah, you're right," she laughed too quickly. "I meant we're not expanding further in Niger, just maintaining what we have." The journalist nodded, but the damage was done. That evening, Claire's encrypted phone buzzed with an angry message. "Clean up your stories. You're getting sloppy." She deleted it immediately, but someone else had seen it too. Across town, a young tech analyst in Burkina Faso's cyber unit flagged the encrypted burst of data. It was too short to decrypt fully, but 2 words stood out in the metadata: sloppy and nummy. The analyst forwarded it upstairs with a note. "Subject is nervous. Pressure is working." The next morning, Claire forced herself back into character, visiting a women's cooperative on Ouagadougou's outskirts. As she handed out sewing kits, a village elder pulled her aside. "You seem tired, daughter," the old woman said, studying Claire's face. "This work weighs on you?" For one dangerous moment, Claire almost told the truth. Then her media officer cleared his throat loudly from across the room. Just passionate about helping, Claire said, stepping back. As she left, she didn't see the elder whisper to a teenage boy, who immediately pulled out his phone. Nor did she notice the unmarked car that followed her back to the city, staying just far enough back to avoid suspicion. Claire's hotel room felt different tonight. The air clung thick with tension as she reviewed the day's footage. Smiling children, grateful mothers, all carefully framed to exclude the military checkpoint just 200 meters west of the village. She zoomed in on a soldier's insignia, typing notes into her encrypted file. 3rd Rapid Response Unit, now deployed near Sector 7. A knock at the door. She snapped the laptop shut. Who is it? Room service, madam. Complimentary dessert from management. Claire hesitated. She hadn't ordered anything. Through the peephole, a young waiter stood holding a silver tray. Something about his posture seemed too stiff. Leave it outside, please. As his footsteps faded, she waited a full 3 minutes before opening the door. The cheesecake looked pristine, too pristine. Using a pen from her bag, she lifted the strawberry garnish to reveal a tiny slip of paper beneath. Your media officer was seen at Kotoka International yesterday. Explain. Ice flooded her veins. Her handler wasn't due in Accra for weeks. Either he was working another angle, or someone wanted her to think he was. Across the city, President Traoré watched the live feed from Claire's hallway camera. His intelligence chief pointed at the screen. She took the bait. Now she'll contact her network. Traoré nodded. And when she does, we'll see who else is in this with her. Claire spent the night destroying evidence. Flushable notes dissolved in the toilet. Hard drives were wiped with military-grade software. But as she reached for her backup phone, a notification blinked. One new voice message. The voice was distorted, but the meaning was clear. Abort Phase 2. You're compromised. Extraction in 48 hours. She stared at her reflection in the dark window. For the first time, Claire Dubois looked afraid. The digital clock read 3:17 a.m. when Claire finally moved. She dressed in darkness. Black jeans, a loose cotton shirt, no makeup. The media officer's empty room down the hall confirmed her fears. His luggage remained, but his passport was gone. Only a single cigarette butt in the ashtray, still warm. They left me here to burn. She disabled her hotel phone's GPS with a magnet, then hesitated at the door. Every instinct screamed this was a trap, but staying meant arrest, or worse. The service elevator creaked as it descended to the basement. Claire counted security cameras, 4 between her and the loading dock. She timed their rotations perfectly, slipping through blind spots like smoke. A block from the hotel, a motorcycle courier sat waiting. Claire flashed the recognition signal, 3 quick taps on her thigh. The rider nodded toward the back. No words were exchanged as they weaved through back streets. Claire's arms locked around the driver's waist, then too tight. The grip was professional, military. She barely had time to react as the bike swerved into an alley. The courier twisted in his seat, syringe glinting in his free hand. Claire's elbow snapped up, cracking his nose. The bike fishtailed as they crashed into stacked crates. She rolled clear, sprinting before he could rise. President Traoré's men found the abandoned motorcycle 20 minutes later. The syringe tested positive for succinylcholine, a paralytic used in covert extractions. The intelligence chief scowled at the report. This wasn't us. Traoré studied the blood on the pavement. Then who just tried to silence her? Blood dripped from Claire's split lip as she stumbled through the labyrinthine slums of Ouagadougou's outskirts. The motorcycle crash had left her with bruised ribs and a single advantage. Whoever wanted her dead thought she was already in their custody. She needed to disappear. An old contact from her training had once mentioned a place. If you're ever burned in West Africa, find the tailor in Sector 12. He doesn't ask questions. The shop was smaller than she expected. A faded blue door with peeling paint. Inside, an elderly man hunched over a sewing machine, his fingers deft even in the dim light. He didn't look up when she entered. Je cherchais une robe pour ma sœur, Claire whispered. The code phrase tasted like ash in her mouth. The tailor's needle paused. His eyes flicked to her torn clothes, the fresh bruises. Without a word, he stood and pulled aside a bolt of fabric, revealing a hidden door. The safe house was sparse. A cot, a radio, a first aid kit, and a pistol was taped beneath the table. Claire's hands shook as she cleaned her wounds. The mirror showed a stranger, hair matted, eyes hollow. This wasn't the polished NGO director anymore. This was a ghost. She powered on the radio, tuning to a static-filled frequency. If her network had truly abandoned her, there was one last protocol. At exactly 4:03 a.m., a voice crackled through. The fox is in the vineyard, Claire exhaled. The backup signal. She keyed the mic twice in response, alive but compromised. The reply was immediate. Sunrise at the cathedral. Come alone. President Traoré's surveillance team had missed her escape, but they hadn't missed the abandoned syringe. The chemical signature traced back to a French private military contractor with CIA ties. Traoré's fist clenched around the report. So now they're cleaning house. His aide hesitated. Do we intercept her before the meeting? Traoré watched the first light of dawn creep over the city. No. Let's see who shows up to kill her. Dawn painted the Cathedral of Ouagadougou in blood-red light as Claire slipped through a side entrance. Her pistol weighed heavily in her waistband. Every shadow seemed to breathe. The radio message had specified the confessional booth, third from the left. Claire paused at the carved wooden door, her fingers brushing the grip of her weapon. One deep breath. She stepped inside. The scent of old polish and wax filled the cramped space. Then, through the lattice, a whisper. You were supposed to die in that alley. Claire's blood turned to ice. She knew that voice. Mark, her former handler, the man who trained her in Paris 6 years ago, sat on the other side of the screen. His familiar cologne mixed with something darker, the metallic tang of nervous sweat. They're calling you a liability, he hissed. Your last transmission was intercepted. Traoré has... A floorboard creaked outside the booth. Both froze. Claire's hand flew to her pistol as the cathedral doors burst open. Not Burkinabe forces. Men in black tactical gear, no insignias. Asset recovery team, Mark breathed. Run. Bullets shattered stained glass as Claire dove behind a pew. Mark wasn't so lucky. She heard the wet thump of suppressed rounds finding flesh. She returned fire blindly, sprinting toward the sacristy. A bullet grazed her shoulder, hot pains searing through muscle. The back exit led to the bishop's garden. Claire vaulted the wall just as a grenade rolled into the sacristy behind her. The explosion showered her with debris. President Traoré's men arrived to find the cathedral in flames and 3 unidentified bodies. The lead investigator knelt beside one corpse, rolling it over to reveal a familiar face. Marc Dubois, Claire's handler, and, according to his dog tags, a former French intelligence officer. Traoré examined the tags with grim satisfaction. Now we know who's been pulling her strings. The safe house bathroom flickered under a dying bulb as Claire picked glass shards from her shoulder. Blood swirled in the sink, pink at first, then crimson as the water ran. Her reflection wavered like a ghost in the steam. Mark was dead. The realization hit harder than the bullet wound. 6 years of training, missions, whispered secrets in Paris safe houses, all erased in one gunshot, and the killers wore French tactical gear. Her burner phone buzzed with a news alert. Terror attack at cathedral. President Traoré blames foreign elements. The accompanying photo showed smoke pouring from stained glass windows. No mention of bodies. Claire's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could still transmit her abort code, vanish into the Sahel, but Mark's last words echoed. Traoré has what? A fist pounded on the door. Claire's pistol leapt into her hand. Identify yourself. I bring medicine, a woman's voice replied in heavily accented French. The tailor sent me. Through the peephole, a young Burkinabe nurse held up an antibiotic kit, but her eyes kept darting to the street. Claire cocked the pistol. What's really in the bag? The woman swallowed hard. A message from someone who knows why Mark died. President Traoré's war room hummed with tension. Satellite images showed French military movements along the Niger border, officially counterterrorism exercises, but the timing was too perfect. She's just a pawn, the defense minister argued. We should... No, Traoré interrupted. Pawns become valuable when the queen is threatened. He slid a photo across the table. Claire's CIA file stamped, terminate on compromise. Let's see who she chooses when both sides want her dead. The nurse's hands trembled as she unzipped the medical kit. Beneath the bandages lay a single USB drive shaped like a cross. He said you'd understand, the woman whispered. Claire ejected the pistol's magazine with practiced ease. A silent threat. Who said? The priest, before they shot him. The cathedral's old chaplain. Mark's local contact. Claire's mind raced as she plugged in the drive. A video file loaded, showing Mark in a dim room just hours before his death. If you're seeing this, Claire, they burned us both. Blood speckled his collar. Traoré has proof. The whole operation was never about intel. It was about destabilization. Our people want this regime gone. The screen cut to a classified memo from the French Defense Ministry. Operation Black Sand approved. Traoré's removal is essential before uranium deal with Russia. Claire's stomach twisted. All those villages, those smiling children she'd photographed, just cover for a coup. The nurse gripped her arm. They're coming. You have 5 minutes. Sirens wailed in the distance. President Traoré watched the same video in his secure bunker. His intelligence chief paled. This changes everything. If the French are... No, Traoré said softly. It changes nothing for them. Only for her. He picked up a secure phone and dialed a number even his aides didn't recognize. Prepare the plane, he told the voice on the line. We're bringing her in alive. The USB drive burned in Claire's pocket like a live grenade as she sprinted through the back alleys of Ouagadougou. The sirens grew louder. Not police vehicles, but unmarked black SUVs with tinted windows. Her own people. A bullet ricocheted off the wall beside her. She returned fire blindly, the pistol's kick sending fresh pain through her wounded shoulder. Dubois, stand down! A familiar voice. Colonel Vasseur, her Paris control officer. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Claire ducked behind a market stall, breathing hard. The video played in her mind on loop. Operation Black Sand. Traoré's removal. Another burst of gunfire. The stall's wooden frame splintered. Then a different engine roared. A military jeep skidded between Claire and her pursuers. Burkinabe special forces piling out. Get in, a soldier yelled in French, yanking the door open. Claire hesitated for one heartbeat, then leapt. The jeep didn't head for the presidential palace as she expected. Instead, it raced toward the airport where a lone Mi-17 helicopter waited, rotors already spinning. President Traoré stood beside it, his usual crisp suit replaced by combat fatigues. You have two choices, Miss Dubois, he shouted over the roar. That plane, he pointed to a waiting Gulfstream with French markings, or this helicopter. Claire's fingers closed around the USB. Why would you trust me? Traoré's smile didn't reach his eyes. Because now you know what they really are. And more importantly, he tossed her a satellite phone. You know how to prove it. The Gulfstream took off empty as Claire's encrypted transmission hit every major news desk from Johannesburg to Geneva. The Black Sand files, the staged photos, the orders to eliminate witnesses. In Paris, 3 generals resigned within the hour. As the helicopter crossed into Malian airspace, Traoré finally spoke again. You understand they'll never stop coming for you now. Claire watched Ouagadougou disappear in the dust haze. I know. Somewhere below, a little girl who'd once asked about clouds played in the red dirt, unaware how close her country had come to burning.